Welcome to the Marble Sports Worldwide Podcast, where we discuss and analyze your favorite marble sports. From JMR Marble League to I'll Go Do tournaments, we'll make sure you never miss the action. All marble sports, all the time, right here on the MSW Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Marble Sports Worldwide Podcast. My name is Brendan.
And I'm Commander Wolf.
And I'm pretty happy tonight. Marble Sports is not going my way, unfortunately, fantasy-wise, but in non-Marble Sports news, I did beat a very difficult level in the video game that I live stream on Twitch. I play Geometry Dash. Channel is GD Marble if you're interested. If you're not, it's okay. And I beat my current second hardest level that I've been able to complete, and it's one of the hardest levels in the game. Very few people can complete that of all the people who've ever played the game. So it's awesome to be able to do that. It felt so great. So just happy tonight because I did it like an hour ago, and I'm still like, wow, that's crazy. Can't believe I beat it. It's hard, but yeah, you can check it out if you go to my YouTube channel, like I said, GD Marble, for that game. But I'm happy about that, but enough about that. We do have marbles to talk today. We have a lot of marbles to talk today.
Yes.
And for those of you who are strictly JMR Marble Sports watchers, I will remind you that is the majority of our discussion. Most of our episodes only talk JMR, and we rarely have episodes that really stray too far from that. However, tonight, and there'll be other nights like this here and there over the course of time, we do cover Marbles Beyond, the channel run by Hershey. It's a smaller channel. I would recommend checking it out. It's very good. And he is continuing and almost finishing up with his NASMARB Marble Sports Tournament. So we're going to be discussing that a little today. I recommend you check it out. If you listen on the YouTube, you'll be able to see footage of that going on during the episode. So yeah, I recommend sticking around. But if you are just JMR, I'd say after the news, skip forward like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and you'll probably get to the point where
there will be timestamps. I've been adding timestamps.
Yeah. So there's timestamps on the YouTube always, but if you're on like SoundCloud or Spotify,
oh, that's right, that's true.
You're gonna have to skip forward if you only want to hear JMR because we will be covering it. We have two big topics to really discuss today regarding JMR, or at least one big topic. So that's just little heads up on what some of the episodes will look like. Like I said, majority will be JMR stuff because, well, they're the most consistently uploading best Marble Sports out there. So. Anyways, Waf, anything for us before we head to the news?
Yes. So, there is like a bit of a downer, but we do kind of have to address normally MFA would join us for these, but if you're part of the Discord, you already know this. But for those who are not in the Discord, Brendan and I have actually decided to get rid of the half host position, and the main reason we did this is because when we first created it. It was because we weren't confident in our abilities to do this show, just the two of us. And at the time, there was a drought in content. And so we felt like we needed like a third person to help constantly, someone there to keep conversations going. But then as time went on, we got better. And like Wolves was not always a consistent half host, as many of our long listeners will attest to. And so we had plenty of opportunities like here and there to like really test our development as podcasters. And we found that we were actually quite competent on our own, and that we actually started to really enjoy having those just the two of us episodes. Because for quite a while there, it was just constantly someone else being there all the time. Very rarely did we actually have a time it was just me and him. And then towards the end, when Wolves resigned, at that point we MFA then stepped in as like the backup half host, and like we were really giving it a chance, and especially on my end I felt like there just wasn't a good chemistry there to continue a bi-weekly podcast with him, just because like not because he's a bad podcaster, because he's a bad person or anything like that, just that like we just our personalities just did not mesh well together, and that is a hard thing to find someone that works with. Like, I think it's just pure luck. I think that, or if you're of some kind of faith, like a work of God, that Brendan and I came together. Like, we just happened to have the right chemistry needed to do this.
Happen to be excited about marbles. Still remember that first episode 6 or 5, and we were talking about the Raspberry Racers Midnight Wisps 2019 relay race where the one Lego piece for the starting blocks got over to the other lane, and we were screaming about that and what should have happened, and then we got on some weird random topics. It was a great first episode. But yeah, I mean, in short, that's what it is. 2 big reasons, as Waff just said. Number one, so when we started the half host position, like he said, it was more because I wasn't confident. I was about episode 25 on the podcast. I had good confidence, but I didn't have like full confidence that I'd be able to always keep it going. And so I was like, I need a third body in there just to kind of have some extra ideas in case we get some dead air. It was a long time ago, so that was one reason. Number 2 is it kind of went really well with the fact that we did come into a drought of JMR content. That was kind of like the 3 months between Sand Marble Rally and Marbula 1. But that drought will never happen again, likely, since now there's 3 different Marble Swords tournaments that JMR does instead of just 2. So there are, and there seem to be really trying to do a lot of content. They got a mini Marble League coming or something like that. So, I mean, there's, and we'll talk about that in a future episode, what I think about that. Those were the reasons I really brought the half host on. And, you know, MFA nor Wolves were bad on the show. They were good, but, you know, it takes a long time to build podcast chemistry. Me and Waff are still working it out. We're doing good, but we're still working through that chemistry on both sides, and we're on episode 80 just about. So, I mean, it just, like, it didn't... We've been more confident. We work well together, me and Waff, at this point, and it just wouldn't make sense to really continue with the third person, since we really do enjoy and like doing our episodes just me and him sometimes. So yeah, that's our final decision. That I hope that's okay with y'all, to be honest. I really do, but hopefully we'll be moving forward positively about that. So with that being said, I think we are good with the intro. We're going to wrap up the intro here. We'll see you on this other side. We're going to talk NASMARB after the news for a little while, and then we'll get into the JMR topics of the day. Let's head to Johnny Marble and see all the news. And there's a lot this week.
Oh, yeah.
He's got to tell us today.
Hello, Marble Sports fans! I am Johnny Marble, and as always, I'm coming to you for MSW. We got a lot of news, so let's get right into it. Race 6 of Marbula 1, the Arctic Circuit Grand Prix, was a chilling race that featured a slippery glass ramp to mess with the marble's control. A major standout performance came from Ruzzy of the Raspberry Racers, as they had an excellent race this week, holding several positions in the top 3 throughout, which is impressive given how poorly they have done not just in this season, but also in Season 1. As the race went on, the leaders started to gain a massive lead over the competition, and in the end, Billy claimed a dominant first place finish, followed by Clementine, who took second, and Ruzzy in third. Perhaps this marks a change in the Raspberry Racers' Marbula 1 career going forward, but we won't know for a while, as the second half of the season won't conclude until next year. But don't worry, JMR has plenty of competitions planned to help tide over the new year. And until then, keep an eye out for that. For our second piece of news, we have the playoffs of Season 1 of the NASMARB Slope Series. This 2-part competition showcased some incredibly surprising performances. Oak showed surprising skill in Part 1 as they beat the 1-seed Streamer, though it was close and Streamer did manage to make it to the final 6 in the last chance race. Moving on to part 2, fans were stunned again as Streamer, the Marble favorite to win it all, lost to Alexlo and could no longer have any hope for a 4th place finish at best. The next race between Murakami and Lemon Drizzle was also incredibly exciting, as it seemed that Drizzle had the victory in the bag with a 5-2 lead. But, against all odds, Murakami stole the victory from the jaws of defeat and got 4 back-to-back wins in order to move on to the finals. But before that, we have the race for 4th. After 3 races, Woodpecker took 4th, leaving Drizzle in 5th, with the original 1-seat Streamer with 6, as an outcome I don't think anybody saw coming. Johnny Marble didn't predict it, that's for sure. But now, we move on to the main event. The final race was mostly a battle between Oak and Murakami, as Electro failed to get more than 1 point in the end. The battle between the two of them was intense, as Oak would hold a dominant position for most of the race. But Murakami would continue to make comeback after comeback to keep the race alive. It was hard fought, but in the end, Oak managed to take the checkered flag, crowning them as the first ever NASMARB champion, marking the end to an incredible redemption story. Murakami's performance was also incredibly impressive, as they managed to take 2nd overall despite narrowly qualifying for the playoffs, proving that they had a right as much as anybody to be there. And though they didn't have a great final race, Electro still did a great job achieving 3rd place, and they should be proud of that. For our last piece of news, the finale of Marbula E is finally here, with race 6 at London. Right out of the gate, the points leader's Porsche was out to an early lead, but soon lost it to Tachida and Audi. By the final lap, Audi had managed to pull ahead and grow in the lead, resulting in them taking 1st, followed by Tachida in 2nd, and Neo 333 in 3rd. And now, for the overall results going into this race, Porsche held a 12-point lead over the competition, so despite finishing last in the 5th, they still took the gold overall, and Mercedes taking silver, and Tachida closing out the rest to take bronze. Woo! That was a lot of news, guys. I'm glad you stuck with me, because, hey, I almost lost it a few times, but you dragged me back. I've been Johnny Marble. You, my dear viewer, are the best fans in the world. Let's take it back and continue on now with the podcast.
And we're back from the news. Thank you, Johnny Marble, for bringing us all the news for this week. And boy, it was a lot. We had NASMARB for people who follow that. We had Marbula E coming in right before this episode today. We had, of course, Marbula 1. Can't forget that. A lot going on there. Just overall, a ton of marble sports. We're going to talk about it. We are going to take a 20-minute detour from JMR in this episode to discuss NASMARB. I recommend, like I said in the intro, checking that out on YouTube. Marbles Beyond is the channel name. They make great content. And then after that 20 minutes or so, we have a big question to discuss here in Marbula 1. We have a couple. Number 1, we're going to talk about the Green Ducks and what we think the future of them looks like here over the next 6 races. Number 2, we're going to talk about the design of the course and what we think about that. And number 3, of course, we're going to read your Reddit responses on the Green Ducks, which I posted about. Then we're going to read your guys' emails for the week. And shove our fantasy teams in there. So a lot to do today.
Yeah.
I think that because of the situation at hand, we are going to today forego our trivia segment. Because...
Well, another thing, we could just save NASMARB for next week. I don't like to do that, but at the same time,
we're not going to do that. I pushed it off already, Woff. So we're gonna
but at the same time, Marbula, there won't be any Marbula 1 or anything that to get in the way. It'll be just NASMARB.
Why would that be the case?
Well, because they're going to go on hiatus.
They're going on hiatus? When did that happen?
Well, did you not see the announcement at the end of the race that they're gonna do a special short one video Winter Marble League?
Oh, is that not coming out next week either?
No, that's coming out next week.
Oh, well then there is something to talk about next week.
See, there's something's happening, but
It's still
that's
worth
like
talking
that's more
about.
secondary.
All right.
Okay, fine. We'll do NASMARB now, but like
We're talking NASMARB now, and we're gonna talk it when Hershey comes on. I mean, wow, come on here, dude. We gotta talk about it. Can't keep putting it off. But yeah, we will forego the trivia segment for today. And of course, I mean, we still have a lot of fan engagement with the Reddit posts you guys responded to and the emails. And then remember, email us mswpodcast@gmail.com.
I think this is the first time we've had trivia since episode 10.
It might be
when it is invented.
I don't know. I don't know if we've. That's a good question.
That would. So 69 episodes later. 69 episodes and then of trivia. Nice. You know what? I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
not having trivia this week.
Yeah, we gotta play that number
for the meme.
For the meme, indeed. So yeah, we will forego that. But like I said, there's still fan engagement. And yeah, we will bring it back next week like usual. So anyway, NASMARB. Now that we've hyped it up so much, let's talk about it. And Waf. Well, to give everybody some background, if you don't watch. The 8 regular season races have come to an end, and the top 12 cars, I believe, right? Top 12, Waf?
Yes.
Have qualified for the playoffs. Unfortunately, me and Waf, who both sponsored a car in NASMARB, get it, by the way? NASCAR and marbles, you get it? You get it? I get it.
Don't do this.
NASCAR and plus marbles, NASMARB. You can't miss it.
Oh,
you
dear.
honestly cannot miss it. You can't. Anyways, we both sponsored a car, which, by the way, again, I showed it off in a couple episodes ago right here. If you're looking at the camera, very, very well made. And we both did not make the playoffs, and that's not really what we wanted to see, especially since both of our cars were not under that cutoff line until we failed miserably in race 8. So it's not been a last couple of good races for us, but the playoffs still persist with other cars. Our former half host is still in, and I think is Nugget still in as well.
Yes. I guess for context, Brendan has not seen the playoffs yet. I have, and so I already know how it all ends.
That's okay. We will talk that, but I just have it pulled up here on the YouTube as well, so you guys can get some footage. But yeah, it looks like Nugget is not in there. So Oak, at least from our former staff, did make it. But that's it for the MSW team, who started off so strong because Quillo was very strong in the first few races.
And so was Spitzer too.
He had a couple of podiums actually. Spitzer was also up there, but just in the last couple of races, it did not go well. Just not very agile on the course, and just let other cars get in front. I mean, we saw that though with Quillo a lot. Even in the races he did well in, a lot of times he would be the slowest car out of the gate, and you can't, and while that would work in his favor some races because he'd be able to take advantage of the hesitations of cars mid race and come back and just kind of wait it out and then jump on it at the right time, it just wasn't going to end well for Quillo, and unfortunately, eventually getting out the last from every race is just not the best strategy. It did not work out. Spitzer was not really as bad, but Wolf, what do you think happened with Spitzer in the last couple of races? Why did he fail?
You know, it's really hard to say. I'm not really sure what happened. It could have been like maybe that Spitzer didn't get worse, or that the other drivers just got better. Maybe. But I don't like. It's hard to say. I noticed like after once I got my car back, like there's like 4 pegs inside around where the marble insert is, just to kind of keep them in place. 3 of mine are missing, so clearly, I think even before it happened, one of them was missing. So I think like as time went on, perhaps the car got damaged. I'm not entirely sure.
Maybe. That's possible too, right? Especially with cars over time. I mean, all the collisions they're going to have and ramming into each other and the track. I mean, yeah, that could wear them down.
Spitzer did have a lot of collisions early on.
And actually,
really strong
these
collisions.
cars can form dents over the course of the season. You've seen chances where the marbles have popped out of cars. You've seen chances where the cars have gone, belly up or fell down a good 10 feet or so, and that's gonna do damage on the cars. It's gonna decrease the aerodynamic ability, possibly mess with the axles and turn them around a little bit. The marble might get all turned around in there, and that can affect you over the course of the season. And that's something that is kind of unique in a sense to something like NASMARB, because in normal marble racing, I mean, marbles might chip, like the microchip thing we've talked about, chip a tiny bit. They might get a little bit banged up, but they're never going to get banged up to the point where, they start looking one way and then by the end they got dents in them, they got twists in them, they got paint scratched off, and that's not going to happen. They're round glass objects, dense objects. These cars are lightweight, they have thin metal frames, and they can really get banged up out there, and that kind of adds a different aspect to NASMARB, that like you have to protect your vehicle, because if you don't, you may lose a lot of speed, a lot of ability to kind of turn left and right quickly and be accurate out there because of the damage you've taken. So that's something to consider, and that could be why Quillo and Spitzer struggled, and some of the other cars struggled towards the end of the season.
Yeah, and for our non-YouTube listeners, there's a special little music video about the pain of the loss that you can enjoy if you want to.
On the YouTube, Marble Sports Worldwide is the name of our YouTube if you want to check it out.
It was a lot. I had a lot of fun making that. It's silly, but also it's like mixing the seriousness and the silliness together. And it's also a Wolf Tune. So hey, if you enjoy Wolf Tunes, I think this is a pretty good one. So Wolf Tune, but yeah, back to the actual racing. I do remember like how like is like race 2 or 3, Spitzer had like some like really big collisions with other cars, like, and also later on Spitzer fell off the course a lot. Heck, a lot of cars fell off the course in race 4.
Yeah, and I think you will notice if you watch the full season of NASMARB, there are many instances, where cars fall off, cars pop open even. There's been many times. Cars get upside down, backwards, stuck inside of each other. Many times. Every car has probably experienced that in some form. All right, but the thing is, every car, depending on the exact places where they were hurt and then the exact places where they suffered, it's going to affect how the body of the car is going to do in later races. And so there is that aspect to it, and I think that if you really look closely, you might be able to spot defining moments for certain cars where they were fast at first, they were good at first, they took some damage, and it didn't turn out well later. It's a very high-impact sport. Marble Sports is very high-impact, by the way, but Marble Sports and cars is high-impact, but there's a lot more consequences that will be suffered if you take a lot of that impact. So I think that's just something that a lot of people might overlook watching NASMARB, thinking that, okay, Marble Sports, it doesn't matter, so NASMARB, it shouldn't matter that much, but no. I think that it could make a difference. I don't know if the car that I was sent has any clear dents on it. I don't know if this was the one, how long this was used. I mean, there's some paint marks off of it, and I mean, if you look closely, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to find some dents that might reveal something, but I don't know. It's hard to really spot them.
Another thing that I thought of is So okay, I guess spoilers for you, Brennan. Are you okay with this?
No, that's fine. So
in the playoffs, both Murakami and like Murakami did like an amazing job, coming back here in these both in race 8 and in the playoffs, nearly winning it all.
In part 1 or part 2 of the playoffs?
Both. Murakami had two incredible.
Because I'm gonna have to be right on Murakami right now. So let's see how he does it. Go back.
Murakami has several incredible races that are like taking victory from the jaws of defeat in both parts 1 and 2. Murakami is was probably my MVP of the playoffs, just because of how entertaining it was to watch him race. it was phenomenal.
Well, let's I'm gonna live analyze while you talk about it. I'm gonna live analyze how he does here. We're just taking one of his races against Sal here.
Sal, I think, is one of the races where he actually dominated pretty heavily, but I think it's against, it was like either his second race in part 1 and then like his first race in part 2 where he like really, like, well, he was like struggling and then suddenly, bam, I just took it all. But like, Murakami, like, because they didn't do well a whole lot, they didn't race as much, and I'm now realizing, in Streamer, as like in the playoffs, like, they did pretty bad. Like, they managed to make it to part 2, but they got 6th overall at the end, and they were the favorite to win it all. And I think what happened was like these like Oak like also like did not race a whole lot because like in the beginning because like they didn't qualify, I think, for the first 2 races, if not mistaken. So I think what might have happened was like perhaps these cars that didn't do as well at the beginning because they didn't race as much, they weren't as damaged as the cars that won a lot and raced a whole lot. And
maybe so you're saying that a lot of cars had the chance to put their energy in at the end of the season because they didn't expend too much at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and like Streamer like probably got lucky like not to damage anything too badly, but perhaps a small dent or bend in the axle occurred, or a dent that affected the aerodynamics a little bit during like the race 7 or something that made them not do as well in race 8, and then subsequently not do as well in the playoffs. Whereas Murakami and Oak, who didn't have as many races overall, were lucky enough to avoid those major damages and were able to then excel at the end because they didn't have to worry about it as much.
I have to be honest with you, watching Murakami there, at least in this particular round against Sal, Murakami got away with a lot. Murakami very lucky. The only reason Murakami did not was able to tie it up at 2 or Sal did not take 3 is because the 2 times that Murakami won races before the final one were both races where Akinon's car, or Sal, did himself in. One time flipped himself over and the other time fell off the track without Murakami even touching him. So I think Murakami, well, he might have done well in the later races, and we'll check that out here on the video. He got away with one against Sal, absolutely. So that should not be overlooked. I'm not saying Murakami's a bad racer. I am saying for sure that Sal could have had a better finish if Sal didn't do himself in. I mean, like it was pretty much Sal's fault that he didn't win. It was nobody else's. So
yeah, definitely you really got to see those other races, man. Like Murakami, like just really it was just struggling so hard. Then suddenly they just came out of left field and really took it.
All right, well, we're going to take a look at the next one here, and this is the second race in part 1, and we'll kind of see how he does. But yeah, that Murakami did not even have, well, he had a decent season, right? But he didn't really turn things around and become a higher seed until the last couple of races. He was kind of like middle of the pack until the last couple. So I mean,
right,
I don't know.
Like if he didn't win that race, like in points, he would have been 13th. So the only reason he qualified was because he got it. But at the end of the playoffs, he got second place. So clearly Murakami like earned their keep. Absolutely. But
honestly, right now it seems like luck. Look at this. Woodpecker stopped himself before the end of the race. That first win.
That Woodpecker made a mistake. So like, a good driver can capitalize on your opponent's mistakes.
I mean, the next one was close. Murakami took that one as well, but I mean, it was very close. But Murakami almost went off the track there. But like, I feel like he flipped himself over and almost went off the track.
That's Mayhem Super Speedway, where we had the most DNFs in NASMARB history.
A tough course.
That track is deadly to everybody.
I just feel like, okay, yes, Murakami's a good racer, but I feel like he got very lucky with certain races.
Early on, I would say yes.
Just against Sal, against Woodpecker won, but Woodpecker never really got a win, so you could say Murakami was going to win anyway. I mean, it's 3-0 right now, and it looks like Murakami's about to take 4. No, he does not. He actually ends up stopping just short there. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there was a lot of luck on the side of Murakami, at least for the first couple of races, but I guess towards the end, he kind of capitalized on that and turned things around, and was able to overtake some of the faster cars. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say from these, taking a look at these initial races, who is, if Murakami's actually really good, or if the other cars just made mistakes at the wrong time.
I mean, it's definitely. I think it's definitely should see the other races before you make your final judgment on Murakami. But Murakami, at least for me, was the most entertaining to watch. It was an absolute joy to see them, just come into their own basically and really prove.
I mean, in part one here, look at this one race. He can't hold a lead. He got out in front there. Woodpecker's backwards and wins that. I mean, I don't know.
was backwards in one races though too. I get the fact that at the end of the day, Murakami got second. And they almost got first. They almost got first too.
They must have turned it around in part two, but it looks like they encountered a lot of fortunate situations here in the first couple of
in the
heats.
First part, yeah, but part two that was the top 6.
And I'm
racers.
not saying they're bad. I'm just saying that things worked out for them. I mean, look at this. Murakami was up 4-0, and now it's 4-3. I mean, that's just. I mean, come on. I mean. Right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, he did end at 5-3, but I'm just saying, it kind of seemed like he had some fortunate outcomes out there. I could try to go forward, take another look at part 2, which I'll do. But
Spiral Speedway is a much fairer course that does not result in nearly as many DNFs, so it's easier to judge the quality of the driving there. Because I feel like everybody fails at Super Speedway quite a bit.
I will say there is a good point in saying that some of the tracks were much more hectic than others, and some of the tracks turned this competition into much more luck-based competition than others. Because of that very reason. I mean, some of these tracks were very prone to cars falling off, marbles were inside, or cars flipping over, or cars just not being able to get the speed necessary to even finish the track. This final track is actually one of the more forgiving tracks, you're right. It has one longer curve, has wider curve, so there's going to be less chances to really get caught up in the curve. If you take a look at this one just qualifying thing, it's one big banked turn, a good 270 degrees, but there's a lot of space there to make sure to keep from falling off. There's a lot of padding there. There's another 90-degree bank turn, which is still pretty wide, so it's a better course to end on because it's really going to test speed. And Murakami actually didn't get off to a very good start, only taking a good 4.67 seconds. That's pretty low compared to the other drivers. So,
strangely, every single driver, with the exception of Oak, had either a mediocre or bad time on that track. I guess the nerves were just getting to him. But Oak, for some, MFA said it himself. Oak thrives under pressure.
Well, maybe so. Yeah, Oak did turn it around. That is a car to recognize, because we talked about Oak. We had a NASMARB discussion about 5 episodes ago, and I kind of said, I was like, I don't see Oak qualifying. I don't see Oak pulling out of it. Oak had a good couple of races, but he didn't even qualify in the first 2. How is he going to pull this out? But he did. He turned it around, and he what did he finish overall again? I forget.
He finished first overall. He won it all.
Yeah, he finished first overall. And that's incredible. But I mean, there is something to the point. I mean, some of these cars did get damaged early on, and maybe Oak avoided that and was able to turn on the speed in the end. But I mean, that Oak is not a car I would have expected to do so well. The biggest first few races did not show it, and I think you can kind of carry some of this over to Marbula 1 when you talk about this, and just because the first half of the season doesn't look good for a particular marble doesn't mean they're not going to end well. And if you think about Marbula 1, we're 6 races in, but we have 6 races to go. A lot of time for any team, even the Jungle Jumpers, to turn things around. Now, is it easy to do that? No, you have elite racers out there in both situations. But it can be done. I think Oak is a good example of starting bad and turning it around and ending good.
Yeah, they didn't just get, in part 1, Oak beat Streamer, the first seed, and Streamer barely made it into part 2 just in the last chance round. So, Oak not only made it in, they beat statistically the best driver of the season. It's complete 180. Completely redeemed themselves from basically the bottom of the pack to the top.
No, yeah, and that is impressive. And it also works the other way. Just because you start strong doesn't mean you end strong. I mean, look at Streamer.
Exactly.
You're right. Streamer barely got into part 2. Quillo and Spitzer were top 5 drivers in the first 3 races and did not even qualify by race 8. So, I mean, starting strong and finishing strong do not correlate always. And so I think that needs to be, wow, look at that Murakami right there. If you look on the YouTube, sorry, I'm cutting myself off here. Murakami, first of all, coming back from like 4-0, and now it's like very, very good racing. Now it's 5-4. But I mean, also right here, look at this right here. Murakami pushing Lamone Drizel, pushes him off the curb. Very good move. You got to say that you got to think that Murakami, even though he knows he might not be the fastest, he really pulled out all the aggression there to try to take that win. And now look, I'm assuming Murakami's going to take this one too. He does. Getting out in front, Lamone Drizel on his toes definitely, and cannot pull the speed back. But I mean, like I'm saying, they do not correlate. Starting strong, finishing strong do not correlate. It does not mean you can't start and finish strong, but it doesn't mean that if you start strong, you will finish strong, or if you finish strong, you started strong. Okay?
Yeah.
And I think you're going to
consistency.
I am pretty sure that you're going to see that in Marbula 1. You will see teams finish strong that did not start well. And you will see teams that started well who will not finish well. And I don't know who those teams are going to be. We're only halfway through the season, but I mean, it is something to be aware of, especially when talking about marble sports, is that the performance of some teams early in the season does not mean they're going to perform well throughout the season. That's why every single event, every single race is in some way a stressor, in some way an important race to be alert on, because you don't know. Maybe you're the team who started bad and is going to turn it around in race 5 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Indeed.
You don't know.
You can see here in the race for 4th, like Streamer, like really just didn't bring it out. They had an opportunity here. Like this is like first to 2, because playoffs, like they want to make it more special, so like give more opportunities here for. But even with that extra chance, Streamer just fell apart. I mean, I don't think Streamer did good at the start, but like they really picked it up towards the middle of the season, and it just seemed like it was a fact that Streamer was going to be there at the end. And like, I mean, they were at the end, but like they weren't nearly as high up as we thought they would be.
And that's what you have to always remember in marble sports. On any given day, any other marble can win, and any other marble can lose. And that you see that a lot in marble sports. And yes, you can play the stats, you can play the odds, but you never know. You will never know who's going to win until that event ends. No one thought Savage Speeders were going to win Marble League this year. They didn't turn it on until the last 3 events. So do not count the Savage Speeders out in Marbula 1 this year, because we have 6 races left to go. There's a lot of time for the Savage Speeders to turn it around. Now, do I think that's likely? No, but I mean, you see my point.
It is the Speeders too. Like,
yeah.
Oh, another thing to talk about for the final race was Electro did horrendously.
I'm looking at right now, 6-1-5, could not get a point. It seems like they were struggling, though. They kind of stuck inside between the other two. Murakami kind of brought out all the stops, and Oak has just been on fire in the playoffs, so it was kind of third wheeling that competition, if you know what I'm saying. So
and I think the reason why they kept starting in the middle, because like they kept finishing in the same place after each heat, and so they couldn't get out of that spot no matter how hard they tried. Yeah. They were just constantly stuck in the middle lane.
Yeah, and it seems like they continue to kind of be stuck there. So not the best finish, but anyway, congratulations to Oak on winning. Congratulations to Murakami and Electro on taking the top 3. Congratulations to everyone who qualified. Quillo and Spitzer, shaking my head that you guys were not able to pull it together. Started well, ended bad. Next time, right? We hope for the best. So anyway, that's our little bit of a touch on Marbles Beyond. We do want to get into JMR stuff, but like I said, we touched that. And Hershey, the creator, will probably come on within the next couple of episodes or 3, and we'll have an episode where we kind of get into some of the future of Marbles Beyond with him. Usually that becomes also a discussion on good marble sports versus bad marble sports and ideas. So that's always like a kind of a spin-off episode that covers Marbles Beyond, but also kind of explores some more theoretical ideas about marble sports. And I always enjoy having Hershey on. So hopefully we'll be able to. Sorry, I took a drink of Coke. Had been able to bring him on for that, but that's our little bit of a little nugget of information. Haha, get it? Because Nugget competed in NASMARB.
That was
nuggets
of such a stretch.
Information about Marbles Beyond today, and we are going to jump into today's JMR topics, and we have time because we're not doing trivia today. We're close to a half hour in. And so, Waf, I guess we'll start the same way as always. You tell me about your fantasy, I'll tell you about mine, and then we'll talk about the disaster for at least some teams that was the Arctic Circuit.
Yeah, it was another pretty bad haul for me, second lowest of 38 points, because, Mimo didn't, Mimo did... Mimo did pretty bad, they finished last, and it's like... the racers. Oh my gosh, we're gonna talk about the racers. But they got me. I think they got me the most points from this race because they finished third place, best place they've ever done in any season of Marbula 1. By the way, so this is their best race ever. They got me the most points, but of course Savage Speeders didn't qualify again, so I didn't get points from them. Minty Maniacs didn't qualify again. I really wish I didn't put them on there. I thought they were in season 1.
Yeah, not your best moment, yeah.
I should have picked Snowballs. And then Cat's Eyes.
Not really. Snowballs have been not great lately, so we'll talk about that.
It would have been better than the Minty Maniacs.
Yeah.
But then Cat's Eyes, I think they're about middle of the pack this race, correct?
No, Cat's Eyes were okay. They didn't get any finishes. They actually only pulled up with 6 points on the race, which isn't good, and we'll talk about that too. Yeah, it's just overall not the best race for all of our teams, except of course for me and the Green Ducks and then the Hazers, which both did well. But yeah, your total points haul, what was the number?
38.
Man, that's low.
Yeah, and my placement is now, where am I at? I was so high before. I am now 26th.
You're dropping lower, man. You're kind of around where I was a couple races ago. But yeah, for me, anyway, like I said, Snowballs pulled little to nothing, about 9 points, I think. Savage Speeders, nothing. They didn't even qualify. Hazers actually pulled good points, as well as the Crazy Cat's Eyes pulled okay points, and the Green Ducks were a big points haul for me as well. So I ended up about 49 points, most of which were from the Hazers and the Ducks. My current standings is not good, considering that number 1 is 566 and my number is 351. I am in 49th, and to be in the top 10%, as is my expectation for satisfaction as a marble sports connoisseur in the fantasy league, I need to be in top 30 to be satisfied. So I have to hope that things turn around over the next 6 races. Like I said, we have a lot to go. We have a lot of time for other racers and other teams to turn things around. But all we can talk about is if we think they will or will not. Man, honestly, we're gonna talk in a moment about the Green Ducks and integrate our Reddit post into them. But I really have to just be very upset about the Savage Speeders and the Snowballs, because these were like the best 2 teams. These were the best of teams in season 1, and it's just falling apart. It's unraveling. It's unrolling. Okay, at the seams right now for these teams, and I can't figure out why. I mean, Rapidly and Speedy both did well in season 1, and Speedy is now degrading. He started well, now is not doing well. Rapidly can't get into the race. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
It's a strange year, dude. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what it is, but he can't even qualify. He looked slow out there. He looked sloppy. He looked unprepared. I just don't know how to really address Rapidly and what's going on. I don't know what the problem is. I'm trying to observe and find out what Rapidly should be doing differently. Maybe there's a problem with him as a marble right now. I don't know, but it escapes my knowledge. It does escape why Rapidly is struggling the way he is.
I can't, like, it's hard to say. Like, they just, like, they have not been in it this season. Like, I wonder, it must be, maybe it's a mental thing. Like, they just from, like, not their really bad start, and they just haven't gotten over it.
I don't know. The mental game is always a tough one, but I mean, to dwell on that first race and then continue to perform worse and worse. I mean, it just doesn't seem like the Speeders. They're a team that wins, and even when they do bad, they still come back and win. I mean, I just can't figure it out. I don't know. Maybe it's just the new teams are just, they have their perfect teammates, and the Savage Speeders are just running into some bad luck, but it is just not working out.
Yeah,
not working out for the Speeders.
Maybe it's not that the Savage Speeders are worse, it's that the other teams are just better.
I mean, maybe, but I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that the Savage Speeders destroyed in Season 1 who are all of a sudden doing better. So, I mean, that would be a lot of teams to all of a sudden be better. All right? I mean, it's hard for me to sit here and say that the Savage Speeders are the same and every other team is better. It's just not true. It's just not true.
I agree with you. I was putting the theory out there.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not a... It's a possible idea. I just can't see it, and I don't know what it is. But it's just it's infuriating. I mean, what is going on? And the Snowballs are no better. I mean, they did make it into this race, but they couldn't get out of 11th place the whole race. I mean, like, it was just up and down, 11th and 13th, and here's the thing with me and the Snowballs that completely confuses me. If you observe the Snowballs over the course of this race in the Arctic Circuit, you will see many instances once they get on the straightaway. Once they get on the straightaway, the Snowballs next to whatever marble's near them, they beat that marble every time. They do. But it's like just the conglomeration of all the other marbles, the whole pack of marbles, all the collisions, all the curves in the track. It's just they can't maintain the speed. They can't get out of the kind of the mire of the pack, and they're just stuck. They're stuck back there, and they're unable to be to really get out in front. And if you notice the formula of the races, I get it, Formula One. The formula of the races over the last 6 have been quite similar to where you kind of have 3 laps to figure it out, and then you're kind of going to be stuck in that general area for the rest of the race. For example, if you're in the top 6, after the first 3 laps, things start to stratify, things start to spread out. You'll probably be able to hold that. Especially, I mean, look at it. I mean, there's been not many races. I don't think any races where a marble has been in the top 3 after the first 4 laps and not finished within the top 6. So, I mean, it's kind of the first 3 laps kind of determines around where you're going to finish. And because people like the Snowballs, marbles like the Snowballs, marbles like the Savage Speeders have this inability to qualify well. They've just been awful as far as singular racing. They're not putting themselves in a position to succeed. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. It's like, I'm honestly just continue to be dumbfounded by the fact that this team that has been synonymous with success and victory, and
good word, by the way, synonymous,
through the entirety of JMR, honestly.
Yeah.
So just now being one of the worst performing teams this year is just, it's baffling. It's unprecedented. I never, like, you hinted that they would have fallen apart, I think, in ML this year, but honestly, I think you were just off by one competition. Like, they weren't gonna fall apart in Marbula League. They're gonna fall apart in Marbula 1.
Marble League. No, and I agree with you. I think that the Savage Speeders will not always be the best team out there. I think that there will be a transition between the Savage Speeders' reign of success to a different team's reign of success, whoever that may be. And I think that transition is beginning now and will end maybe over the next few years, unless the Savage Speeders get some new blood. But I did not expect it to happen this quickly, this dramatically, and this year.
Yeah.
And I don't. It makes sense that the Savage Speeders won't always be the winners, but it seemed pretty drastic. I mean, they're not even getting in the race. I mean, yeah. It's not like, oh, they're getting 7th now instead of 1st. No, they're not even. I don't even see the Savage Speeders in the Arctic Circuit. I mean, they don't even race. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But I think the thing that should be noted, this is an overall point that needs to be understood, okay, when talking about marbles in general trying to win. And that is that qualifying is extremely important, probably equal importance to the actual race, maybe even more important. It may not be as interesting to watch, and I'm telling you for sure right now, I don't think qualifying is as interesting to watch, okay? I do not. I think the race is much more interesting than the qualifiers in Marbula 1. Even with the new structure, it's just the case. So I'm not going to say as a viewer it's the most exciting, but for the marbles, it is of utmost importance. Because very rarely are you going to see a marble make a big jump either way. Especially after they stratify after 3 laps. Yes, there are some times where in the first couple of laps, a marble who had pole ends up at 14th because of the way the collisions and all the marbles are together. But I'm talking, let's go 3 laps in. Marbles that are at the top stay at the top, most likely. Marbles at the bottom stay at the bottom, most likely. That's just how it goes. And yes, you may start in 3rd and end up in last. I mean, it can happen. But you're giving yourself a way better chance, a much higher, almost 200% better chance of winning the race or at least maintaining a solid position if you qualify high than if you qualify low. Because not only do I see marbles who qualify high and manage to stay at the top in the first couple of laps almost always finish in the top 8, I rarely see marbles who qualify in the bottom 4 get up to the top 8 either. And it works both ways. So, I mean, while the Snowballs and the Savage Speeders are really having a meltdown this year, one of the biggest problems I think they face, one of the biggest overall issues that they need to improve is not the racing out on the track during the race. I mean, Speedy actually did pretty well in race 5. He went from 16th to 8th, which if he didn't qualify so low, it would have been a great race for him. They need to improve their qualifying. They need to take seriously the times. They need to take seriously the 2 laps of position deciding if they can even get there. It's not good enough to just get into the race anymore if you want to win Marbula 1 this year.
Yeah. The snowball is really melting down into puddles out there.
You know what, Waff?
Yeah.
I'm not happy about the snowballs, man, but you don't have to melt them out like that.
Hey, you're the one who said who mentioned meltdown. I was just following up with a pun.
I didn't even notice that pun, dude. I did not notice that. I actually did not even recognize the meltdown pun. I'm sorry, guys. I'm off my game today. Believe it or not.
I'm disappointed in you.
Oh, you should be. I should have recognized that. I just felt that word. It just seems like a complete shutdown of their skill out there today. But we do have another couple of topics that we want to really dive in, and we're gonna end with the Green Ducks because I really want to discuss what we think is gonna happen with them. But before, we always have our usual segment where we rate the track design out of 10.
Oh,
so,
boy.
Waff, you can go first. We could talk track design.
I've been thinking about this one for a while now, and
Silence.
5. Like, it's just so disappointing. Like this winter track is only really a winter track for 5 inches.
Yeah, absolutely.
again, it's back to the the hive drive thing, or the honeycomb. Like 2 or 3 segments like that would, for one thing, would just be better. But like, you know, like one thing that we could that I loved about Fubeca's races was like he and his wife they like decorated like the entire environment, like middle section around it, everything. Like they could have more like cotton balls and more fake trees to make like a really snowy landscape for this race. But they just put like trees and like some snow there at one point and like a glass bridge, and then that's it. Like is that like I get it. Like a lot has happened. Like a lot goes into this stuff, but you really couldn't do more. Like it's so disappointing. Like they could, like, this is like an opportunity to really have a cool like winter wonderland-esque feeling, like snow around, like a few trees here and there, not too many because you got to see the marble still, of course. Like something that really brings it to life. Like put a little snowman. You could make a little marble snowman or something like that. Like,
that would be awesome. Yeah,
there's so many things that you could do.
I mean, here's what I have to say, Waff, and I'll get to my opinion on the track in a second, but I just want to point out something to everybody listening right now, and I really, really, really ask that you listen when I say this. I want you to just recount. I mean, even go back in the recording 1 minute and listen to Waff and his opinion. Think about what just happened. He spent 1 minute, 60 seconds, thinking about this course, thinking about the snowballs and what kind of course they have. He spent no time at all thinking about it. 60 seconds counted on the clock he spent talking about this track. And he already had multiple creative ideas. Snowballs, snowman that look like with the marbles. I mean, that's creative. More trees, cotton balls, snow. I mean, these are creative ideas he came up with in a minute. JMR spends that's their career to make these tracks. And they can't put a couple more nods to the theme of the team that's supposedly hosting and creating this course. I mean, it just, I don't know. It is disappointing for me as well. I think the track design in and of itself take away the necessary theming that should be there. The track and design itself is not bad. I did not like the corner right there, the 90 right there. They kind of been doing 90s a lot lately, very sharp 90s. I like them sometimes, but it's really dead into speed there. About halfway through the track. So that was not my favorite. I think there was a lot of sharp turns. I think some of the divisions in the course happened at the wrong time. I don't know. Not my favorite track, but it's not a terrible one. I think I'd give it about a 5 out of 10 as well, honestly. And I'm underwhelmed with the theming. And in my opinion, it's not... I don't know if it's a lack of creativity, because JMR is usually a pretty creative organization. Like,
we haven't mentioned it, but like they have like a graffiti artist, and they've had 2 backdrops now. Like that's amazing. That is so much better than for season 1. That I can't believe we haven't addressed it yet. But
true,
that is amazing.
The backdrops do add to the environment, but the backdrops are also not like very. You don't see them a lot when you're looking at the race. If you're focusing on the marbles in the race, you barely see the backdrops. Yes, they're nice if you take a look at them. But, I mean, like, why don't you spend less time on that and more time making the track more interesting? I mean, like I said, just like the Hive Drive, number 1, you could have added 3 sections that have that snow foam core thing around it with the glass or the more slippery track or whatever you had down there. Just three. Just pick 2 other spots on the course, and all of a sudden, you got a more interesting course. That's number 1. Number 2 is I just feel JMR doesn't, they're not bold enough. There are a lot of cool things you could do. Like, one of the things that comes to mind, and this wouldn't even be that hard to do, is to have, some snow falling on the course. Not real snow, because that's melts. But I mean, some, confetti-type looking snow that might fall for maybe a couple of laps towards the end, like Fubeca did. A couple laps at the end of one of the course, they had rain. That was a super awesome idea. One of my favorite Fubeca moments. I mean, just have something like that. Or even have snow sprinkled, little confetti pieces sprinkled on different portions of the track, or on one area of the track to be okay, this place got some snow. Because that would actually not mess with the race too much, because all marbles would have to deal with that terrain, and marbles would still be able to roll right through those very light pieces of paper well, but it would add an aesthetic. It would be oh, these marbles are racing through snow. Oh, this is like a different feeling to the race that we've never seen before. This is not just another circuit. This is the snowball circuit. This belongs to the snowballs. It doesn't belong to anybody else. I can't copy and paste this track over to the Hive drive and just change the little glass thing to a Hive and it's the same thing. No, this is the snowballs track. And that is what's missing from the track design. These tracks could be copy and pasted and a little bit changed, and you got yourself any team could host these tracks.
I think it might be one of the reasons why. Like, I'm not sure how many of these they filmed back to back, but what might have happened was like my idea of like putting all those cotton balls down, whether it be like just laying them on the floor, or putting like boxes or stuff to make kind of like mountains, like you can put them like next to the tracks on the bridge and stuff. Like all of that, like, regardless of how much effort they want to put into that, like that is a whole lot of like making the entire thing a winter wonderland kind of landscape with like a little Santa Claus or like abominable snowman or something like that. Like that's all like that is like a lot of extra cleanup they have to do. And I don't know, are the fan stands in the same spot every race?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like they move around a little bit.
They probably do move a little bit, but it would make sense that maybe they have like a certain filming days, and then they come in and they don't have it's like to keep on a schedule, they basically want to have as few props as possible so they can rearrange, take apart, and rebuild everything as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And I get it's it's like I can explain it. And I get what is their job to make content, because consistently to make money. I feel like maybe like if the deadline is the issue for why the design is not as interesting, or they didn't do as much with it, I would say like increase the deadline by like what, a week. Like I feel like people would be willing. Like I feel like that might be possible, Like I don't know the logistics. I don't know what their income rate is, and how viable of an option that actually is. All I'm saying is that just from an outsider's perspective, I feel like that one extra month would increase the overall quality of the races, and that might in turn result in more views from people, which would then increase the revenue that you make. So if you're worried about like losing money from time, this time investment could get you a net gain. It could also be a net loss. You never know. You have to experiment. Like it's just like I just feel like there could be so much more.
Listen, and yeah, I agree with you. And here's what I'll say. I do think that it probably takes longer than we think to make some of these props.
I'm sure.
But I also will say this. If they do need to increase the theming aspect better, they need to make it better. And actually, I don't want to post this on the Reddit because that's on the JMR Reddit. I don't want to be negative on the Reddit, but I'm asking you guys that listen weekly, please, could you email in? Could you comment on the YouTube or something? And please just tell me, are we the only two people thinking this? Are we the only two that think the track should be themed better, and you guys are all fine with it? Or do you guys also think that there should be maybe just a couple extra minutes of like a couple extra seconds that are clearly themed better? I mean, maybe we're the only two. If we're the only two, then they should do nothing. But I just feel like that. How could you not want it a little better? So I mean, I'm just saying. Okay, I think as far, in my opinion, and this is just my look, this is my take. And I'm gonna clarify this again. This is nitpicking because it's already amazing. The fact that I'm even sitting here watching Marbula 1 in the way it is incredible. I'm just saying that, like I always say, if something is incredible, it's great and I appreciate it, but you should never ever be 100% satisfied. You should always be trying to improve. That's the sign of a dynamic channel. That's the sign of an improving channel. It's a sign of a channel that will succeed. So that's why I think we talk about these things.
But I think from Richard Hinckley,
in my opinion,
there's our thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, there's no excuse for Season 3, because even if it takes a lot of time to build and unbuild the tracks every week and stuff, I mean, you should have all the track designs and shapes planned out in advance, like months before, or at least a month before. And if you plan out all the track shapes in advance, then you can also plan out all the props to be built to add extra features to the track in advance. And you can build them in advance when you're not releasing any content. And so you have ample time to make sure that you get literally the difference between a 5 out of 10 and like an 8 out of 10 on this course right in front of us is like 2 extra sections that nod to snow in some way. I mean, that's like 10 minutes of thought. It's 10 minutes of thought. 10 minutes of mind think to come up with 2 other things that could be a little bit creative. And about a half hour extra of work, and you could do that beforehand to actually, I mean, maybe a little more. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, like, there is ample time and room to be a little bit more creative. And while, of course, I love Marbula 1 right now as it is, I do think, and I would like to see a little bit of more clear creativity in the coming races in Marbula 1. So, I mean, it's just what I think. It's just what I think.
Yeah. The other issue we didn't bring up is like the cost of those things like that. Like I brought up cotton balls specifically because like one, it's cheap, but also like so like if you're saying well how are they gonna put something on the cotton balls on until you put them next to the track? Like a cheap alternative is to just use boxes. Like I'm sure they have plenty of like spare boxes around like to use as like platforms and stuff. Like underneath it might not look pretty, but it's not like we're seeing the outside, so it doesn't. So if it looks good on the outside, I'm sure it'll be fine. Like I've been filming some scenes for a video I'm gonna be trying to release hopefully this month. But we're like I don't have a fancy camera or a tripod. I only have my iPad and a bar stools and boxes, and that's what I've been using. And like it's like I've been using what little I have. And like I imagine like someone as big as JMR with that big old warehouse, they probably have like dozens and hundreds of boxes that they could use as like platforms, like to make mountainous terrains, or heck, 3D Bot Maker, actually, a lot of, like, recently I saw, like, a screenshot of what the race mountain for this year looked like in your construction. A lot of underneath of it is just cardboard that they kind of cut and shaped, and then they put the mountainous terrain and, like, styrofoams on top of it. It's like, a cheap way to do that, what I'm thinking about is, like, take boxes, either cut them up or shape them, or just, like layer them, and they put, like, cotton balls, like, stretch them out, like, make a snowy landscape, like, I don't think a few bag of cotton balls, I think like 2 or 3 would be enough to cover that space. Like, and like I'm pretty sure that's not very expensive. Like, it doesn't take. I feel like it wouldn't be too much of a cost investment. Just while like to make it superb, it probably would. But like just what I'm asking for, just a little bit more for the like just having snow everywhere could be solved with just cheap cotton balls.
Yeah, or like some confetti or something. I mean, like the creativity aspects are there. In my opinion, there's no excuse, but then again, we don't actually know what goes on each week, so we can't really speak to it, but it just, from what we know, I just feel like there's like nothing extra. Though I also feel like JMR always seems to be hesitant to use terrains besides the Marbula 1 track, but I also feel that using different terrains in each track and using different track types is really what's going to set Marbula 1 apart. Is not only an awesome marble sports tournament, but a unique marble sports tournament with every race or something new, challenging for the marbles. And when they say things like this is the Arctic Circuit by the Snowballs, that means something different than saying this is the Hive Drive by the Honey Bees or whatever the frick they're called. I forget.
Because the only thing that's different is that like this glass,
a very small part. That's what's different. A very, very small part, and that's what I'm saying.
The honey dome, like I think it was glass, was plastic, and then it has it's like the hexagon shapes in it. But that's basically all that's different. Like there's really almost nothing different in terms of theming aside from like the trees and the white snow section. Like
I agree. And in my opinion, Marble Sports will be at its best when JMR can post the name of the next circuit, Arctic Circuit, whatever, and I'll be like, yeah, that one's unique. That one I can't wait for. I can't wait for the challenges to come in that one. But we're going to have to move on here. We have fan emails and Reddit posts to discuss. We don't have a lot of time left.
Should we talk about the racers themselves? Like Raspberry Racers, like incredible performance, I guess. And
yes,
Billy?
They did. But yeah, that's what our Reddit post is about. It's about the Green Ducks. So you're going to be able to give your opinion on Billy, and I'll be able to give mine in regards to this Reddit post. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the Reddit post question. I'm going to read everybody else's response. Then I'm going to give a thought. Waff's going to give a thought. Then we'll end with our fan email. Sound good, Waff?
Sounds good.
Sound good, everybody out there who can't answer but is listening? Awesome. Okay, here we go. So the question I posed here on the Reddit is talking point, I called it. I said, do the Green Ducks have a shot at first place? And I don't mean that meaning do I think they'll win first place maybe by the 12th race. No, I mean do they have a shot of taking over first place in the next couple races, next 3 races? And we're going to read people's answers, and then we'll give our thoughts. So Dino Kia, who's been answering a lot for us, I think, starts off saying, well, first off, I never like to rule out teams too early. At this point, there are two obvious teams you can rule out, Mini Maniacs and Jungle Jumpers. That is true. But the other teams, though, M1 can change in the blink of an eye. A team can very quickly jump as the rankings, as we've seen many times already. There are, however, about 6 or 7 teams I'd look to be in the title contention, and I'd say calling it now would be a mistake. Obviously, CCE is first to going strong and one of the only teams to consistently get points alongside Thunderbolts. However, they are already starting to show signs of a possible choke incoming. That's true. They have a rough last couple of races. This could leave the field wide open for the next few teams. It will be a challenging course, but I think any of the 7 teams, 7 could feasibly pull it off. Ducks are obviously most likely, but Team Momo and Rangers Bumblebees will return to form. Thunderbolts or Hazers keeping this recent run going, and maybe even Team Galactic if they can stabilize into solid spots again. So yeah, Green Ducks could definitely do it. The lead looks massive, but M1 scoring massively favors winning, so a bad run of choked by the CCE could see a gap like that dissolving very quickly. All right, good answer. Drew Drinks says, CCE has been slightly slipping up, but a 7th and 8th, they're still very solid. It's true. They're not completely out of it yet. Noah Soon says, do they have a shot? Yes. What will it take? A lot. I mean, the real question here is, then can they reach first without the CCE messing up? And while I may be a little biased here, I don't think they will quite get there. While they have been remarkably consistent, the competition is too wide. There are just too many teams competing for podium places. Honestly, I think that the latest first place was kind of circumstantial on a day where all other top teams this season tanked so much to let the other 2 podium places go to the Rangers and Raspberry Racers. That's true. Those aren't expected podium finishers as well. The consistent Ducks got first, and if it wasn't a kind of a fluke, then we'll have to take Raspberry Racers and Rangers seriously in the coming races, which will mean less points to spread around, benefits the Crazy Cat's Eye as well. Overall, the Ducks probably need 2 more podiums, maybe 1 more win would do it too. I figure this since I expect CCE to get at least 1 more podium as well. I expect more than that, and then a consistent bleeding of points throughout the other races. It may be a close one, but in the end, they expect the CCE to barely hold on to their lead. Okay. I actually think it's more likely that one of the either Thunderbolts or Momo gets a real great run like the CCE had in the first half and surpass CCE that way. Okay. I don't think the Ducks have it in them. Interesting. Savage Beaters. Yes, they can do it. That's the name of the user, by the way, Savage Beaters. Yes, they can do it, but it'll depend on one thing. Will the CCE do their halfway downfall like they usually do? Good point. CCE have a tendency to always do great in the first couple events in the first half of the competition, but they always fall after their great start. I agree with that. Marble League shows that. If they continue this trend, there'll be another Marble League 2020. Good point. Or 2017, a dominating team falling off in the final events. This could be the case here. And if the CCE do fall, then the Ducks should be there to capitalize. They absolutely should. That's one of my points that I have to make. Seaweed says, yes, they have a shot. Can they do it? Maybe. A few different elements in play here. First, the Green Ducks need a few more podiums, and another win would not hurt. But they also need CCE to either place low or fail to qualify at some point. They'll never catch up if CCE continues to place in the top 8. The trend is definitely going the way the Green Ducks want it, but CCE is still earning points. Also, if Team Momo or the Thunderbolts really want to, they could pass the Green Ducks and take second, basically handing it to the Crazy Cat's Eyes. The Green Ducks this season have been one of the most consistent teams we've ever seen, and I don't see why they won't continue to do that. So yes, they have a chance. I would say, okay, Big Pig says, I would say, if anyone's going to watch the CCE, it's the Green Ducks, the Thunderbolts, or the Hazers. Now that they seem to have gotten over their slump, the rest is just not consistent enough. Momo, she's saying not consistent enough. Bumble's not consistent enough. All right. Ben says, does anyone know what the podcast... Okay, that he's just asking a question. Yes, the podcast is the one I'm doing right now. Okay. Interesting answers. A lot of them are actually dubious, it seems, about the Green Ducks taking over at first soon. A lot of them think it's possible, but not necessarily definite or likely. A lot of them actually then went on to talk about other teams, thinking there's other teams might even have a better chance than the Green Ducks. But here, my opinion on this is that you've seen the opposite from the Green Ducks than what you've seen from the Savage Beaters. And I think the Green Ducks and the Savage Beaters, racing-wise, are a similar skill. I do. But I think the Green Ducks, in contrast to the Savage Beaters this year, have been very, very good qualifying team. They've qualified high a lot. They've been seen, both Mallard and Billy have been seen in at least the second qualifiers in the majority of the first 6 races. And because of that high alert qualifying performance, they have found themselves in many positions to finish high, even when they're not necessarily having the best race. They only have 1-0 point haul over the first 6 races. And besides that 1-0, all of their finishes have been 10 points or higher, which can't be said about any other team in Marble League, Marbula 1 right now. Every other team either has at least 2 zeros or 2 performances under 10 points. Green Ducks are the only team, even to the Crazy Cat's Eyes, who had 8 and 6 in the last 2 races. The only team where 5 of their 6 races are 10 points or over. Does that not tell you something? They've podiumed twice. They got 4th place once, and they got 5th and 6th. They've, or 5th and 7th, something like that. They've been very, very consistent. And I think the reason that they've been finishing so high is that they've taken advantage every single race, except for race 3, of qualifying. They have not let their guard down when in the qualifying. They've been fast. They've taken advantage of those 2-lap races to get close to pole position. And they turn those into high finishes 5 out of the 6 races. That should not be forgotten. And because they've done that, I'm very inclined to say, because I am a believer that qualifiers matters just as much as the regular race in marble sports, I am inclined to say that the Green Ducks, I don't know if they'll overtake the Crazy Cat's Eyes, because the Crazy Cat's Eyes have also taken advantage of qualifying well. But the Green Ducks are performing, in my opinion, just as good as the Crazy Cat's Eyes currently, as far as their consistency, as far as their capitalization on top of the qualifiers. And they are in second right now, so it's not really a crazy comment to say. But I think if looking at all the stats that we have across Marbula 1 right now, Green Ducks are your easily your second best racing team, and most likely to be able to take over the Crazy Cat's Eye. And I just think that we should keep an eye on them. And I do not see over the next few races them getting any points less than top 8. Just because of how well they've handled the qualifiers. And how well, once they start high, they end high. Yes, they may lose to a couple marbles here and there, but they'll never drop too low because they're a good racing team. And they're not working from 16th place, barely getting up to 8th. No, they're starting in the top 8, and they're finishing as high as possible. And a couple of the times it works to a podium. Other times it's worked to a top 5 finish. And I think that just should be acknowledged and recognized and observed over these next 6 races. Green Ducks, in my opinion, even though the points gap is high, Green Ducks, in my opinion, are just as likely to win as Crazy Cat's Eyes right now. Well, if you have any thoughts on that.
It's interesting, like, looking back at Season 1, the Green Ducks, like, they got 4 points first race, 26 second race, which means they got first and fastest lap, and then 12 and 0, 2, 2, 0, 18. It's like, they started off kind of strong, but then they just kind of middled out. Like, they finished 6th overall, so they were still in the top half. So, like, it's hard to tell, like, if maybe, like they've been consistent this season so far.
Are you talking about Season 1?
Yes, Season 1.
Well, I mean, you can give them the benefit of the doubt and say they just didn't have experience. They were a rookie team.
All of them were rookie teams. I guess that's so.
Well, yeah, for Marbula 1, but also a rookie team that was still technically a part of their first year of marble sports, since they didn't start till 2019 Marble League, and so they were still in the rookie year.
Remember, Marbula 1 I think Marbula 1 Season 1 started in 2020.
Right, but if you actually do the counting, Marble League 2019 was in the summer, so it would be a full year after Marbula 1 would mark the full calendar year.
I get you.
So they're technically still in their rookie year. That was their second ever marble sports tournament. They got 6th place overall. And now they're just taking it even higher.
Fair enough. I definitely think they have a chance. I think like if they continue their consistency from this season, like going forward, like they definitely have a good shot. But there are plenty of other marbles who've really been ramping it up this year, like Team Momo and
Hazers have turned
Thunderbolt.
things around lately, yeah.
And Cat's Eyes specifically, like this is not an easy year. Like this is there's a lot of teams. Like while the gap for first is still kind of up there, it is still very early on. They're like halfway through. Lots of teams are really gunning for it this year, and like. It's like if they want it, they're going to have to really work for it. Like it's gonna be tough. It's hard. Like they have a chance, but so do a whole lot of other teams. It's all about who wants it more and who trains harder.
I agree with that. I am not going to sit here and say that I think the Green Ducks are the sure win, that the Crazy Cat's Eyes do not exist because they had one race where they got 6 points instead of 100. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say that. All I'm going to say is that instead of looking at the current situation and saying that the Cat's Eyes are the team, they're going to win, they don't have any difficulties right now, and every other team is just playing catch-up, I would argue, I would turn things around on top of you and say that the Cat's Eyes and the Green Ducks are the two top teams, and everybody else is playing catch-up. That's all I'd say. I'm not saying the Crazy Cat's Eyes are going to lose. I would just put the Green Ducks leaned more towards the Crazy Cat's Eyes level of racing than towards the rest of the pack's level of racing. That's all I'd say. You could talk about that either way, in honesty. But in my opinion, that's just what the current situation is. We got emails. We're going to try to wrap this up in the next 10 minutes for you guys. So let's read these emails, see what you guys have to say this week. Remember, you can email in mswpodcast@gmail.com. We will read your emails. We'll respond to your emails. Email Marble Sports questions. Email anything. Email advice. Email whatever. Comments, questions, whatever. You know what I'm saying. Email mswpodcast@gmail.com. So we're going to jump into these emails, read these, and get out of here. All right, let's see. We're going to start with Richard Hinckley's email. He's our mod in the YouTube live chat because he comes very often and he's just very active.
Someone wants to ask us a question, but they're saying that slow mode is enabled in Discord. The slow mode should only be 5 seconds, so you can totally send another comment.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
Oh, it's 10 minutes. What the heck? Who said it to 10 minutes?
We'll fix that while I read this email. So Richard Hinckley...
It's not 5 seconds. I'm sorry about that. Jeez.
Talks about how he would change NASMARB. Here's how I would change the format for NASMARB. But first, I would have the bottom 3 qualifiers race for the last spot. Then I would have the first round keep the heats of 3, with the winners advancing to the next round. But for the second chance race, I would have these pairings. Second heat 1 versus third heat 2. Second heat 2 versus third heat 3. And so on. Second heat 6 versus third heat 1. The second round would be 4 heats of 3 with the winners advancing to the next round, with the losers getting a second chance with the same format as the first second chance races. And the remaining 8 racers will be in a knockout format to decide the champion. Or the winners of the second chance races will be paired off again, leading to the final 6. The format would continue as they do now. I'm a little confused by this format, so...
Yeah, I read this earlier today. First of all, Richard... punctuation is very important. Periods and commas help a lot.
Well, I'm calling you out right there, buddy.
Please use periods and commas. It helps us understand what you're trying to say. And so, yeah, it's very confusing. I don't know. I tried. I really did.
I think I understand. So the second place finisher from Heat 1 would go against the third place finisher from Heat 2. Oh, he's just pairing it up in an interesting way. He's kind of just moving some numbers around. So.
Oh, okay.
483. I guess I get it. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say this truthfully and honestly. Whether you do it Richard's way, which is a little confusing in my opinion, a lot of second chance racing, or you do it Hershey's way, you need to do it quicker. Because the videos for NASMARB were 30 minutes. And they're honestly just too long. They are too long. I mean, yeah, great, Marble Sports, but also it's not like anything different's happening at 25 minutes than at 10 minutes because it's still the same racing. It's just different cars. So, and in my opinion, any 30-minute video ever should have something substantially different in the second half of the 15 minutes than in the first half of the 15 minutes, or something different, and not just the same thing. I mean, in NASMARB, it is the same thing for 30 minutes. I mean, yes, if you have 3 different cars you enjoy, you might be always entertained, but I'm just saying it's a long video. It needs to be shortened. Whatever the format is, in my opinion, it needs to be shortened. It needs to be about 20-minute video at most. And it needs to move on quickly. Enough with the second chances. Enough with the 5 or 6 wins required to move on. I mean, it just needs to be shortened up. That's my opinion on that. I think that you might propose something that might be shorter. I'm not really 100% sure. But I am truthful when I say to you it needs to be shortened up. Okay? Next email. All right. Comet Fan is back. Heyo, design sand rally track because, oh crap, yeah, we're going to do this. Let's save that email for last. We're going to save that email for last because I know what we're going to do on that, but and we'll talk that to end the show. Okay, 2 questions from DJ Marley. He's writing in. I think this is the Marley that joins our live chat on the YouTube. He said, hi, this is Marley. Are the Green Ducks true contenders, and what are your thoughts on the new short Marble League? Very good 2 questions. Yeah, we just talked about the Green Ducks. And yes, I do think they're very good contenders. The new short Marble League, I am going to cover probably more next week because that hasn't come yet. Mm-hmm. I am unsure because I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be important or just filler. I don't know what to think yet. I don't know if it's going to do anything unique. I need to see the video first. I'm going to see the video, and then I'm going to come back to that question after I see the content.
I believe it airs on Christmas Eve. If I had a guess, I would say it's gonna be like Showdown, where there's like 4 events, maybe 6.
All I want to know from that is there going to be any significance to that, or if it's just a friendly round just to fill Marble Sports. We will talk about it when it comes out. I can't make a lot of decisions right now because I just haven't seen it, and I don't really know how to approach and observe that right now. But I will address it when it comes out. Okay. Comet Fan is back. Here we go. Hey, yo, design sand rally track because you never got around to doing it. That is the thing we're supposed to do. Trivia question. Okay, wait. Okay, so the answer... Okay, this will be a trivia question I give to you next week, Waf, because we skipped the trivia question this week. We tripped the segment. So that trivia question, just remind me, and I'll pull this up for next time. Unfortunately, the answer's in the email, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. It will be for you and whoever else is on our episode next time. Okay. Episode 77 is not on Spotify. Weird. I'll check that out. It should be. It might just be a problem because I post to Anchor, and Anchor then posts to many places for me, so maybe it's just a problem with that. Oak won. Yes, he did. Awesome. In episode 65, MSA says, if Spitzer misses out in the playoffs because of this drizzle winning, I'll just, any comments? MFA, have you seen the Phil?
Spitzer missed out not because of that loss. Spitzer did not make it because of a lot of mistakes besides that. So you don't have to worry about it. Like, when MFA said that, he meant like if Spitzer was literally like a few points away, and like they would have made it if they just won that race. Like we're because that was the one where they restarted because Drizzle exploded. But Spitzer was so far behind, that victory would wait a minute. If Spitzer won, they would have auto qualified.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, he did clarify the rules.
So close yet so far, right?
He was.
So close yet so far.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Hershey did clarify about the rules, like if the car falling apart obstructs the race, and he was consistent about that going forward. And because of that, because he was consistent about that rule, I have no real qualms with it. Like he was blunt about what his thoughts on it, and he was consistent. He wasn't.
It is what it is, right?
So
it's going to be what it's going to be.
I've accepted it. I've long accepted it. My grief has been put out in the music video already. I've moved on, ready for the next year.
He also says, guess what my favorite reindeer is. Waff, take a lucky guess.
Wait, his favorite what?
Guess what Comet Fan's favorite reindeer is?
Comet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I'm assuming so. I guess that's what the joke was, because he's Comet Fan, and Comet's one of the reindeer, from the rhyme. Awesome. Thank you, Alex, for writing in. Oh, crap. I said his name. Was I supposed to? I think.
That's his public YouTube name.
All right, so it's fine. Okay. Thank you, Alex, for writing in. Okay, so I will end with the last thing here, and we'll do the trivia question next week, like I promised. He said, design Sand Rally track if I had to design one. Okay, valid. Here's how I would design a Sand Rally track. It should be 5 minutes long, number one. Obviously, that might be a long, long course to make, but I want it to be 5 minutes and want it to be a substantial length. Okay? Number two, I think that it should have moments where the terrains are different. I just do. Not just for half a second. I mean for a good 30 seconds. So maybe 30 seconds or a minute of that course. Maybe you throw the marble drome track out there. Maybe you try to, work with the sand or put some things down, maybe some felt down just to change the terrain, because that's going to make it different. I think that there should be points where the track gets wild, where it splits into two lanes that stay two separate lanes, not just for 15 seconds, but for a good minute to 2 minutes, where there's two very clear races going on, and of course it's balanced best as can, so they're both a similar speed, or even into 3 lanes. I think there should be points where the track opens up into a very wide section, like 3 to 4 times as wide as the usual sand marble track, because that could allow for some good lateral competition. I think all those features in one track would be what I would want to see in Sand Marble Rally tracks. I think, again, it happens in Sand Marble Rally as happened in Marbula 1. It's not creative enough. I am not saying, please don't hear me wrong, I am not saying that sometimes having a Sand Marble Rally track that doesn't have too many features, or a Marbula 1 track that doesn't have too many features is a bad thing. No, that should happen here and there, because it's good to have the plain tracks, because when you have a plain track amongst many tracks which are all different, then the plain track is unique. Mm-hmm. If you only have plain tracks, then it's not unique. So I'm just saying that it needs to be mixed up. That's how I would design one. I would have a lot of those features to really allow the marbles to face different challenges over the course of the track. But yeah, that's how I would design one. If you actually wanted me to design one start to finish and talk about every 15-second section, I would have to draw that out, and that's like a 15-minute deal. But that's like what I would do with the course. Anyway, I think that's going to wrap up today's episode. Another longer one, but a lot of marbles going on. We got to talk about it all. I hope you guys enjoyed, and Waft, take us out, and we will see you guys next week.
All right.
Sports Podcast.
Roll on, Marble Sports fans.